everyone, I'm Matteo Collina, and today I'm going to talk about something new. I'm going to talk about dreams and dreams that are going to come true. We'll see why. But let's go, before any of that, let's start a little bit about myself. I am the co-founder and CTO of a new startup called Platformatic. I also write regularly at nodeland.dev, which is my weekly newsletter. And, I've been in professional services and a consultant for maybe most of my life. So this is something very new for me. Anyhow, in the last 8 years, I've been a consultant in the Node world. I worked and created a lot of open source and helped a lot of companies too. And I created two libraries, one called Fastify and the other one called Pino. Check them out, they are amazing. Anyway, why I'm saying all of this? Well, because the starting point is that in my whole lifetime as a software consultant, there was one single constant. Every one of my clients always said that they need the software done by yesterday, and this is generically true for all of us, all developers like you. In fact, most developers don't even realize this. We as developers stand between the goals, stand between the goal of our business, of the businesses that pay us, they give out our salaries, our rates, and so on and so forth. In fact, we make their dream come true. We make they dream something, a new application, something completely new, something that is not there's not there in the market yet, and they dream it out of thin air, and then we make it happen out of thin air. So that's why everything it's actually they need it done by yesterday. They ask us to make their dream true. So, but why there is this sense of urgency, right? Why they want to ship this fast? Well, it's always important to stop and think for a second. And I've pulled a few data to throw around, but it's everybody's going to digital and more digital and more digital. And even though at the beginning of the year, everybody was saying, oh, we're going immensively and so on and so forth, because of also the pandemic and whatever. And now maybe something has been falling a little bit in terms of market penetration and so on and so forth. However, we are still talking that, look, in 2010, the US e-commerce was around less than 5%, and now we are it's not tripled. It was tripled in 2020, but it's still like very close. So this is the kind of progress that thinks is the digital is having. So by the way, if you're not, please subscribe to Pragmatic Engineer. I think everybody deserves. It's a phenomenal newsletter. Cost a little bit of money, but totally worth it. Anyhow, I'm not affiliated on any form, so I'm just paying just like you. So another important number is that there are a lot of digital transformation projects, which sounds like a hype or a buzzword. However, it's not, in the sense of most of us work in digital transformation, in the sense that their companies or their products are needed to make things to improve the companies and the way companies service their clients via digital means. So yeah, it's great. In fact, all of these all this focus on the end users has generated some level of a new development process, or I call it the experience development process. A lot of other people will call it service design, or there's a lot of different names for the same topic. Essentially, we start with the user. You see users, and then from them we create the experience that we want to achieve, and from the experiences we create the UIs. And from there, we create actually what data is needed by those UI to exist. So it's all about experiences and data. So how is this, matters for us and so on and so forth? Well, this has created a lot of demand for developers. Everybody wants their dream come true. So what the hell? Why we need to have more developers out there. And however, there are not enough trained software developers. There are boot camps and all those things, but reality is that certain skills are very hard to find at this point in time in the market, which is a big of trouble. So how can we make sure that all the things gets done if we can't hire? Well, the answer that your boss will say to you is code faster. Nah, this is not true. Okay, run away if that's the case. If your boss tells that, run away. And in fact, run away from all those companies that track the developer productivity in the number of lines of code or any of those kind of metrics that are a little bit popular. No, don't do that. Okay, don't track developer productivity. Is actually like the less they code, the better they are, more or less. So please. In fact, on that, the best line of code is the one that we don't have to type, okay? And this is also true on open source, by the way. I have so many downloads that, it's problematic to maintain it all. Anyhow, and we came to the old school, and the Pareto principle. Why do you think this means to you, to us, and the backend, and why, I called my talk the race of Backendless? We'll see that. And by the way, stay tuned because it's coming at the very end. So, so the Pareto principle is telling us that 80% of the outcome result for 20% of all causes for any given event. This is great. However, what does this mean in practice? Okay, well, it means that if you have 100% of features for building an application, okay, the 80% of features are actually require only 20% of the effort, and 20% of the features requires 80% of the effort. So this is hard. Like typical task that is hard is complex authorization systems, or making sure that the application actually scales well, or even implementing some very complex features that requires looking to 4 different databases to implement it correctly. I don't know. Anyhow, the hardest part here is 20% of the features have 80% of the effort. This is actually very, you can see an application of this in real life. I don't know if you remember when this thing, the iPhone, came out. Steve Jobs, at the beginning, they did not add copy and paste. Could you ship a phone without copy and paste? Like they did. They shipped without copy and paste, which seems like a very important feature. Everybody mocked them for not having this feature, but implementing copy and paste is actually a freaking hard problem. I don't know if you ever tried. It's very hard. So they didn't, and therefore they have saved some effort, and they could actually ship it faster. Okay. But what does this mean for us? Well, however, not everybody can afford to do that. Okay, you could afford to only ship a lower amount of features at the beginning to ship, but at the end, eventually, you will need to implement them all. So the question now is, if you need to pick a technology set, okay, that makes your code easier and potentially improve things. Well, would you will you do something that makes it easy the start of the project, that is like the 20% that's easy, or the complex features, which is the 80% that's actually hard? Oh, I know what I would choose. I would definitely choose, without even opening my eyes, the complex features, a framework that helps me with the complex features. And in fact, it's something that, I don't know, a lot of people though would choose something that's implement the start of the process. It's fine. There's no good choice here. To the point that it's you could even decide that you're using low code or no code at all. Like this is it's fine. Okay, I'm not really convinced in no and low code tools, mainly because I think if you need to make a dream come true, we have to, if you want to make a dream come true, we must innovate. We might create something that does not exist before. And typically no code and low code tools only offer a certain level of permutation of what was originally devised by that tool developers. So, and to be honest, this is actually why we are seeing the explosion of front-end frameworks. Like React is the big market leader, but there is Vue, but then there are meta frameworks and new incoming frameworks. It's great, okay? You can pick your framework and start building. Those are great because they enable component reuse. So I could actually build application faster by reusing some of the stuff that I have previously built. It's great. And these new approaches has led to some new hosting platforms where we can actually deploy our front-end applications. We can deploy it on Vercel, Netlify, Cloudflare, but there are also other solutions. The reason for those is that they provide a phenomenal developer experience for those environments. But what about our backend? Like, where are we storing our backend? Where are we storing our data? We are in trouble a little bit now because we know we can deploy things at the edge with those services, but we need to do something and deploy something very nicely on our cloud. Well, it is my requirement for a backend system. I've been very picky. I've been building those for quite some time now. So I'm probably too picky, but this is my list of requirements and I'm not really willing to compromise on any of them. So I want to run something local, everything locally. I want to be my backend to be able to extend it using code and native databases. I want to have some basic Untitled authorization support and GraphQL and REST. It needs to support Apollo Federation. I'm a huge fan of Apollo Federation and in general GraphQL composition, so it needs to be composable. And I want to deploy both, it needs to be deployable cloud prime, so it needs something that can be deployed somewhere in the cloud, but something that I own, not somebody else has. And I wanted to support both the great and the great Postgre, but also SQLite for minimal things, but maybe MySQL because I really want to try planet scale data. Come on. So generically, though, to abstract from all of this, I want a backend that takes no time to build, but is as flexible as I would build myself. So what are really the market most of the time are built around this macro architecture, which is where you have your own front end. There is the tool, which maybe offer a REST or GraphQL endpoint, and they connect to the database, maybe they run migration, but your code sits in a separate process or function. You cannot customize this with plugins or any other stuff. In fact, however, so this means that you can't have the cake and eat the cake at the same time. Well, because those tools are great, but they're a little bit monolithic, right? They just one thing, okay? Cannot really customize them much. But I really want to have the cake and eat it too, right? I want to be able to have something that is created like that in a matter of seconds. But at the same time, I want something that is that can be super extensible. So it's tricky, right? Okay, so this is what I've been building for the last few months. It's a new company and a set of tools that would work very well for both the start of the project, but also the long time development of all the other features, the complex features. And for them, I want to something that support both something very easy and something but also flexible at the same time. The first of such tools is called Platformatic DB. It's open source. You can check the docs at oss.platformatic.dev. It's great. It is the architecture, and you can see the difference from the previous one. You have your front end, but now with Platformatic DB, you can have both OpenAPI and GraphQL, but your code sits within the same tool. It's just a Node.js application, and it's based on Fastify, so it's great. It's just JavaScript all the way down, and this means that it's super customizable. You can customize all its behavior. And also you can also use the individual components, completely skipping our server if you want to. How it's possible? Well, it's time for demo, so let's hope the demo gods are with me. So here is the config file for our Platformatic DB, and you can see it as platformatic.db.json. Now, what we can do is, what we can do here, you can see it, is that we have environment variable substitution. So we specify the port, we have configured some logging, and we are saying that we are using SQLite and storing stuff there. We also run migrations automatically, which means that we create a table for categories, and we create another table for pages with a reference to categories. Cool. Okay, so we have a category table and a pages table. Make sense? Yeah. Great. So let's run this. So in order to run this, let's remove the previous database. Then what we can do, we can Platformatic DB. Here we go. You see that the first thing we have done, we have run the two migrations, 001 and 002, and then we have started listening to 042. And by the way, we open up the greatest graphical on the other on that port. So what we can do in save category, what we can do first is that go and save a category, which creates the category pets, and we return the category with D1. With that, we can start save a page for dogs. Okay, do you like dogs? I like dogs very much. I have a tiny poodle. Anyway, so what we do, we can run save page, and here we go. We have run save page, and so we have stored dogs, and you can see that it's also returning our category here. Cool. Now we can query, for example, all the pages, and yay, nice, right? And then we can get one page and get all categories too. Note that the relationship works both ways, so it's a one-to-many relationship, so we can navigate it on one side and also on the other side too. It's great. Okay, so is this just this? There's a lot of tools that this stuff. Well, yeah, we have something more to show. So we go back in our code, and now what we can have, we create a file called plugin.js, and in this file, strict, we can do module.exports and async function app. This is just a Fastify module that we will load within our Platformatic DB application. So what we can do, for example, applicate log info hello from plugin. We save this. Now we need to update our configuration because path and plugin.js. We save this, and now you can see in the logs that we get hello from plugin specified. Cool. Okay, so what can we do with this? Well, first of all, what we can something that we can do we can extend our schema and specify extend type query and, for example, a hello string, and we are creating this stuff. And then what we can also add is titles, which we want to return all the titles, and we return strings. Now, after that, we can we can add our GraphQL, define resolvers, and query, we want to specify hello world, and the title, yeah. And but these are not really useful, but I'm going to refresh it so that we can, if we refresh this page, now what we can do query hello, and we can specify hello and titles. So if we run, we can do hello, and you see it's returning correctly. Okay, but you know, this is not really useful. So what are we specifying? What you can do now is you need to mark this as a sync because we want to return a promise, and then we get some rows, and we can do wait app platformatic, okay, platformatic db entities, and its page, its find, and it's fine. Then we can do okay. Would that has changed something? Let's try. Oh, now the title is correct. Note that we can also run some SQL if we prefer, if you can prefer it that way. So what we can do is const rows await app platformatic db select title from page, and if we run it, oh yeah, I did it wrong because we need something different. So what we need to do is db and SQL and app platformatic, and now what we can do is SQL. Here we go. And it's pages. Cool. Okay. Here we go. Yeah, now you can see it's the exact same result as before. So, by the way, we also offer full TypeScript checks for the data mapper, so that we can just do the things that we want. I'm not demoing this now. It's a little bit longer, but let's it will be on our website. Also, you could also define, for example, new REST APIs. So what you can do is we can take this one, and then we don't need to send, we just need to return this. And look, we have saved this stuff. However, what we can do now is look curl localhost 3042 titles, and you see it returns the correct value. Cool. Look, if you are interested, you can also see that if we go to localhost 3042 and we go to documentation, you can see that all this stuff is also documented by with the OpenAPI. So it's kind of great. Cool, right? Okay, let's go back and to talk a little bit more about our slides. So all of this is actually possible because of Fastify. Fastify is a web framework for Node.js that allows maximum pluggability. So you can check it out and test it, and everything will work as expected. Note that Platformatic DB leverages Fastify and its plugin architecture, so that you can we can support both the framework, both the tasks that are very simple, but also the tasks that get very complex. And we have this library called internally SQL Mapper, which provides the SQL to the entities framework, and it does the meta-level programming. Okay, so that's, it enables us to know which tables are there and what are the name of the columns and so on and so forth. Then you can have SQL GraphQL to expose it, and SQL OpenAPI to develop to expose it, SQL OpenAPI for exposing it via REST. Note that you can define your routes and resolvers here, so you are completely in control. And it works across MySQL, MariaDB, Postgres, and SQLite, and probably more to come. What's actually very interesting is that you can actually even use all these modules in our app without using our CLI. So you can just take those modules, Platformatic/SQL Mapper, Platformatic/SQL GraphQL, Platformatic/SQL OpenAPI to do the same. Last but not least, you are very familiar with the term serverless, right? Serverless in reality is somebody else's server, right? There are servers somewhere. You're just not managing them. And I think it's inevitable that we reach the stage of backendless, in the sense of, you probably don't have to write most of the backend, but it's somebody else's backend and managed by somebody else too. So anyway, thank you for having me, and talk soon. Bye bye, and check us out, platformatic.dev. Bye bye.